Let me tell y'all something. Dreaming big is not for the weak. See, everybody loves to talk about success. They love to post about it, dream about it, wish for it. But let me ask you something. Are you really ready for what it takes? Because big dreams demand big sacrifices. You want to be great? You want to be successful? You want to change your life? It's going to cost you. That comfort zone you love so much, it's got to go. Those nights out with your friends, got to let some of them go. That fear of failing, that hesitation, that doubt, you better throw it in the trash because there is no room for that where you're headed. Big dreams require big sacrifices. That's the truth most people don't want to hear. Everybody loves the idea of success, the idea of having more, doing more, becoming more. But when it comes to the part where they have to give something up, that's where they hesitate. See, most people want success as long as it doesn't inconvenience them. They want to be great, but they still want to be comfortable. They want to live their dream, but they don't want to struggle. And that's not how it works. The reality is, if you're chasing something big, you have to be willing to let go of things that are small. You have to give up habits, mindsets, and even people that don't align with where you're headed. That's the cost. You can't hold on to everything and expect to elevate. You can't keep doing what you've always done and expect a different outcome. There's a price for every level of success, and the bigger the dream, the higher the price. It starts with time. What are you willing to do with your time? Because time is the one thing you can't get back. If you're serious about your dream, you don't have time to waste. You don't have time to scroll mindlessly, to binge watch shows every night, to sleep in when you should be grinding. You don't have time to entertain negativity, distractions, or drama. Every minute you spend on something that isn't pushing you forward is a minute you'll never get back. Then there's effort. Big dreams don't come with small effort. You can't just work when you feel like it. You can't just give half your energy and expect full results. You have to go all in. You have to push yourself beyond what's comfortable. There will be days when you don't feel like working, when you don't feel motivated, when you're tired, discouraged, frustrated. But those are the moments that separate the ones who make it from the ones who don't. Because the ones who make it push through anyway. They keep going when most people quit. And let's talk about comfort. If you want something big, you have to be willing to be uncomfortable. You have to be willing to stretch yourself, to do things you've never done before. Growth is uncomfortable. Discipline is uncomfortable. Waking up early, staying up late, working on your craft when others are relaxing. That's uncomfortable. But if you refuse to be uncomfortable, you'll never change. You'll stay right where you are, wishing for something better, but never actually reaching it. You might also have to sacrifice relationships. Not everyone is meant to go with you where you're headed. Some people will doubt you, some will criticize you, some won't understand why you're working so hard, why you're making certain decisions, why you don't have time for the same things anymore. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be willing to walk alone if necessary. Because if you let other people's opinions dictate your path, you'll never get where you want to go. Money is another sacrifice. Investing in yourself, in your dreams, in your growth, that takes money. And sometimes that means saying no to temporary pleasures. That means skipping the latest gadgets, the unnecessary shopping sprees, the things that don't contribute to your future. It means choosing long-term success over short-term gratification. It's about making decisions today that your future self will thank you for. Sacrificing means understanding that there will be tough times. It means accepting that there will be setbacks, failures, and moments when you question everything. There will be times when you want to quit, when you feel like nothing is working, when you wonder if it's all worth it. But that's part of the process. The road to success isn't smooth. It's not easy. It's filled with obstacles, but every sacrifice you make brings you one step closer to where you want to be. The question is, how bad do you want it? Because if you want something bad enough, you'll be willing to do whatever it takes. You'll make the sacrifices. You'll put in the work. You'll embrace the discomfort. You'll keep going no matter what, because at the end of the day, big dreams don't come easy. They come to those who are willing to give up what's holding them back so they can reach for something greater. Success demands discipline, not just talent. A lot of people think that talent is enough. They believe that if they're naturally gifted at something, then success will just fall into their lap. But that's not how it works. Talent might give you a head start, but it won't keep you in the race. It won't carry you to the finish line. Discipline is what separates those who have potential from those who actually make something of themselves. The world is full of talented people who never reach their full potential because they lack discipline. They had the ability, but they weren't willing to put in the work. They let distractions get in the way. They let their emotions dictate their actions. They showed up only when they felt like it, and that's why they never made it. Because success doesn't care how talented you are. Discipline is waking up early when you'd rather sleep in. It's putting in the work even when you don't feel like it. It's sticking to your plan even when the results aren't showing yet. It's doing what needs to be done even on the days when you have every excuse not to. Talent might get you noticed, but discipline is what keeps you growing. People who rely only on talent tend to plateau. They get comfortable because they assume they don't need to push themselves. They assume that what they have is enough. But the ones who have discipline, they keep improving. They keep sharpening their skills, learning, adjusting, putting in the effort, no matter how good they already are. That's why disciplined people always surpass talented people who refuse to work. The difference between someone who succeeds and someone who doesn't isn't always about skill. It's about who is willing to do the work every single day, no matter what. It's about who is willing to sacrifice comfort, who is willing to push through when things get tough. Because talent doesn't teach you resilience. Talent doesn't teach you patience. Talent doesn't build character, but discipline does. Discipline means doing the things you don't want to do. It means sticking to your schedule even when distractions come up. It means choosing long-term success over short-term gratification. It means saying no to things that don't align with your goals even when they're tempting. It's easy to be disciplined when things are going well, when motivation is high. But real discipline is built in the moments when you don't feel like showing up, when you're tired, when you're frustrated, when nobody is watching. That's where success is truly earned. It's in the hours nobody sees. It's in the sacrifices nobody talks about. It's in the discipline to keep going when you don't feel like it. The problem is, most people want results without putting in consistent effort. They want success without struggle. They want to be great without committing to the process. And that's why they never get there. The ones who win in life aren't always the most talented. They're the ones who show up day after day, even when the excitement is gone. They're the ones who stay focused, who don't make excuses, who don't wait for the perfect moment. They understand that discipline is what turns dreams into reality. They don't just rely on how they feel. They rely on their habits, their mindset, their commitment. The truth is, talent can open doors, but discipline keeps them open. You might be the best in the room today, but if you don't have discipline, someone who works harder than you will take your place. Because talent without discipline fades. Hard work, consistency, and commitment will always outlast raw ability. The question isn't how talented you are, it's how disciplined you're willing to be. Your comfort zone is the enemy of growth. It feels good to stay where things are familiar, where everything is predictable, where nothing challenges you. That's why so many people get stuck. They settle into routines. They get used to their surroundings, and they tell themselves that they're fine where they are. But deep down, they know they were made for more. They know they have bigger dreams, bigger goals, bigger potential. The problem is, stepping out of that comfort zone means stepping into uncertainty. And that's where most people stop. Growth doesn't happen where you're comfortable. It happens when you push yourself beyond what you already know. It happens when you take risks, when you do things that scare you, when you challenge yourself in ways that force you to learn and adapt. Comfort keeps you still, but growth requires movement. You can't expect to reach new levels if you refuse to leave the place you've outgrown. The people who achieve great things in life are the ones who embrace discomfort. They understand that feeling uncomfortable is part of the process. They know that in order to grow, they have to do things they've never done before. That might mean waking up earlier, putting in extra hours, learning a new skill, or letting go of old habits. It might mean walking away from people who don't support their vision, stepping into a new environment, or facing challenges that seem impossible at first, but they do it anyway because they know that everything they want is on the other side of their comfort zone. Most people want growth, but they don't want to go through what it takes to grow. They want success, but they don't want to deal with struggle. They want to evolve, but they don't want to experience discomfort. That's why so many people never change. They stay in the same place year after year, making excuses, waiting for the right time, avoiding anything that feels too hard. But there is no growth without challenge. There is no improvement without struggle. You don't get stronger without resistance. You don't get wiser without mistakes. And you don't move forward without stepping into the unknown. Think about a muscle. If you never put it under stress, it never grows. If you never lift heavier weights, your strength stays the same. The same applies to your mindset, your skills, and your life. If you don't push yourself beyond what's easy, you'll never develop the strength to handle bigger opportunities. If you don't allow yourself to fail, you'll never learn what it takes to succeed. Growth isn't supposed to be comfortable. It's supposed to stretch you, to challenge you, to shape you into the person you need to become. Your comfort zone will always try to pull you back in. It will give you reasons to stay where you are. It will tell you that you're fine, that you don't need to push yourself, that you can always try later. But that's a trap. Later turns into never. The longer you stay in your comfort zone, the harder it becomes to break out of it. The more you avoid discomfort, the more you settle for a life that is less than what you're capable of living. Every successful person has had to break through their comfort zone. They've had to take risks, make sacrifices, and go through uncertainty. They've had to deal with fear, doubt, and struggle, but they kept moving forward, and because of that, they grew into something greater. They didn't let the fear of the unknown stop them. They didn't let temporary discomfort keep them from permanent success. They understood that growth is a choice, and that choice means leaving behind the things that no longer serve you. If you never step outside of what's familiar, you'll never discover what's possible. If you always play it safe, you'll never know how far you can truly go. If you stay in the same place, doing the same things, thinking the same way, you'll never experience the growth that comes from challenging yourself. Not everyone will understand your journey. When you start chasing something bigger than yourself, when you decide to break away from the average and go after something greater, you have to be ready for people not to get it. Some will doubt you, some will criticize you, and some will try to convince you that you're making a mistake. They'll question why you're working so hard, why you're making sacrifices, why you don't just settle like everybody else. And if you're not careful, their voices will start to get in your head. The truth is, people will always have opinions about what you should do with your life, but none of them have to live with the consequences of your decisions. The people who tell you to play it safe won't be the ones dealing with the regret if you don't go after your dreams. The ones who tell you it's impossible won't be the ones who have to live with the reality of a life you never truly wanted. That's why you can't let other people's doubts become your limitations. You can't let their fears stop you from going after what you know is meant for you. Most people only understand what they can see. If they've never chased a dream, if they've never stepped out on faith, if they've never pushed past their own limits, they won't be able to comprehend why you're doing it. They're speaking from their perspective, from their fears, from their own limitations. But you are not them. Just because they can't see the vision doesn't mean it's not real. Just because they don't believe in your dream doesn't mean it can't happen. Sometimes the people closest to you will be the ones who doubt you the most. It's not always because they don't want to see you succeed. Sometimes it's because they're afraid for you. They don't want you to struggle. They don't want you to take risks and fail. They don't want you to go through challenges that they don't think they can handle. But their fear is not your reality. Their doubt is not your destiny. You have to be willing to walk alone if necessary. If you're always waiting for other people to approve of your decisions, you'll never move forward. If you need constant validation, you'll never have the strength to push through when things get tough. There will be moments when you have to trust yourself, even when nobody else understands. There will be times when you have to keep going, even when it feels like you're walking this road by yourself. People will always clap for you. They won't always support you. Some will even try to discourage you. Not because they don't believe in you, but because your growth reminds them of their own stagnation. Your ambition makes them uncomfortable because it forces them to look at what they haven't done. Some people will project their fears onto you, telling you it's not possible because they never had the courage to try. But their limits are not your limits. Their reality is not your reality. You have to be careful who you listen to. Not everyone is qualified to speak into your life. Not everyone has the vision, the mindset, or the experience to give you advice on where you're going. Some people will talk you out of your dreams simply because they never had the discipline or the courage to chase their own. Some will try to convince you to play small because it makes them feel better about staying in the same place. You have to learn to filter out the noise. You have to learn to trust your own instincts, your own vision, your own purpose. There will be moments when you feel misunderstood. There will be days when you feel isolated because nobody around you sees what you see. But that's the price of having a vision that's bigger than your environment. You weren't meant to fit in. You weren't meant to follow the crowd. You weren't meant to stay where it's comfortable. Growth requires separation. Elevation requires letting go. And sometimes moving forward means leaving behind the people who refuse to grow with you. Not everyone is supposed to go where you're going. Not everyone is meant to understand your path, and that's okay. What matters is that you keep moving forward, that you stay focused, that you keep pushing, no matter who believes in you and who doesn't. Because at the end of the day, this is your journey, and nobody else has to understand it but you. Stop waiting. Your dream is your responsibility. Too many people sit around waiting for the perfect time, the perfect opportunity, the perfect set of circumstances to start chasing what they want. They tell themselves they'll start when they have more money, when they have more time, when they feel ready. But the truth is, there will never be a perfect time. There will always be obstacles, always be challenges, always be reasons to wait. And if you keep waiting, you'll wake up years from now in the same place, wondering why you never took action. Nobody is going to hand you your dream. Nobody is going to show up one day and make it happen for you. If you want something, you have to take full responsibility for it. You have to stop making excuses, stop blaming your circumstances, stop waiting for someone else to believe in you before you believe in yourself. The people who succeed in life aren't the ones who had everything handed to them. They're the ones who took what they had, no matter how little, and made something out of it. Waiting is a trap. It feels safe. It feels responsible. It feels like the right thing to do. But in reality, waiting is just another way to avoid the fear of failure. It's easier to say, I'll start later, than it is to start now and risk not being good enough. It's easier to wait for the right conditions than it is to face the possibility that things might not go as planned. But the longer you wait, the more time you waste. The more time you waste, the harder it becomes to start. You don't need permission to go after your dream. You don't need someone else to tell you it's possible. You don't need all the answers, all the resources, all the knowledge before you begin. You just need to start. Start where you are, with what you have, and figure it out along the way. Every successful person started before they were ready. They started with doubts, with fears, with uncertainty, but they started anyway because they understood that the only way to learn, the only way to grow, the only way to succeed is by doing. People waste years waiting for confidence, but confidence doesn't come before action, it comes after. You don't become confident by thinking about your dream, by planning, by hoping. You become confident by taking action, by failing, by learning, by improving. The more you do, the more you grow. The more you grow, the more you believe in yourself. And that belief is what keeps you moving forward when things get tough. Excuses will always be there if you look for them. You can always find a reason why now isn't the right time. But if you're serious about your dream, you have to stop looking for reasons to wait and start looking for ways to begin. Maybe you don't have all the money, but you can start learning. Maybe you don't have all the connections, but you can start networking. Maybe you don't have all the skills, but you can start practicing. There is always something you can do right now, no matter how small, to move closer to your goal. The people who win in life aren't necessarily the smartest, the most talented, or the luckiest. They're the ones who took action. They're the ones who didn't let fear stop them. They're the ones who refused to sit around waiting for the right moment. They created their own opportunities. They made their own path. They took full responsibility for their future instead of leaving it up to chance. If you don't take ownership of your dream, nobody else will. If you don't fight for it, nobody else will fight for you. If you don't start now, you'll always find another reason to put it off. There is no shortcut, no magic formula, no easy way to make it happen. It takes work, commitment, and relentless action. You have to decide that your dream is worth more than your fears, your excuses, and your comfort zone. You have to be willing to step up, take control, and do whatever it takes to make it real. Failure is not the end, it's part of the process. Too many people let failure stop them. The moment they hit a setback, the moment things don't go as planned, they start doubting themselves. They start questioning if they're good enough, if they're capable, if they even deserve success. But the truth is, failure is not a sign to quit. It's a sign to grow. Every successful person has failed, and not just once. They've failed over and over again. They've lost money, lost opportunities, made mistakes, faced rejection, and still kept going. That's what separates them from everyone else. It's not that they never failed, it's that they never let failure define them. People are so afraid of failing that they never even try. They let the fear of embarrassment, the fear of judgment, the fear of not being good enough keep them from taking action. But failure is not the opposite of success. It's a stepping stone to success. Every failure teaches you something. It shows you what doesn't work, what needs to be improved, what you need to change. It sharpens you, strengthens you, prepares you for what's ahead. Without failure, there is no growth. Without failure, there is no progress. The problem is most people only see the highlight reels of success. They see the end result, the victories, the achievements, but they don't see the struggle that came before it. They don't see the nights of doubt, the moments of frustration, the sacrifices that were made along the way. They assume that success comes easy to those who are talented or lucky, but that's not how it works. Behind every success story is a series of failures that most people never hear about. The difference is, successful people don't let failure stop them. They use it to push forward, to get better, to refine their approach until they get it right. Most people give up too soon. They hit one roadblock and they decide it wasn't meant for them. They face one rejection and they assume they're not good enough. They try once, it doesn't work, and they convince themselves that success just isn't in the cards for them. But failure is not a stop sign, it's a lesson. Every setback carries a lesson. Every mistake is an opportunity to learn, and every rejection is just redirection. The only way you truly fail is if you quit. The greatest success stories come from people who refuse to give up. They had every reason to quit. They had every reason to believe it wouldn't work. But they kept going. They adapted. They learned from their mistakes. They got back up every single time they fell. That's what separates those who make it from those who don't. It's not about avoiding failure, it's about pushing through it. It's about seeing it as part of the process rather than the end of the road. Failure tests you. It forces you to decide how badly you want it. It separates those who are committed from those who are just interested. Because if you're only interested, the moment things get hard, you'll walk away. But if you're committed, if you truly want it, you'll find a way to keep going. You'll take the lessons, you'll adjust, you'll come back stronger. That's how success is built. One failure, one lesson, one comeback at a time. Most people let failure define them instead of using it to refine them. They internalize it. They let it shake their confidence, make them doubt themselves, convince them that they're not capable. But failure is not personal. It's not a reflection of your worth. It's just part of the journey. Every time you fail, you're one step closer to figuring it out. Every mistake brings you closer to getting it right. The ones who succeed aren't the ones who never failed. They're the ones who failed and kept going. People want success, but they don't want to go through the failures that come with it. They want the rewards, but they don't want the struggle. But success is not a straight line. It's full of ups and downs, detours, wrong turns, and dead ends. If you expect it to be easy, you'll be disappointed. But if you accept that failure is just part of the process, you'll be unstoppable. Because once you stop fearing failure, once you stop letting it control you, there is nothing that can hold you back.